Okay.
Let's do it.
I think I'm doing it live via my iPad. We are technology impaired yet again.
I know what the problem is. It's just
The internet in our building
The
is
internet
so slow.
in our building, for some reason, is not working. So, my iPad, and again, I have no idea whether or not you guys can hear, because we switched mediums again.
I think as long as you keep it close.
Anyway, okay is watching. Okay,
yeah,
Kay,
there we go.
can you hear me? Is the voice all right? I get a heart. Maybe that means it's okay. Katie's watching.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So,
You want me to hold you?
yeah, it's going to be tricky though because you might want to come around here.
All right.
Okay, so this is going to be tricky.
This is going to be take 2 of selfie-style filming.
All right. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was yesterday. We had talked about this quilt that I had, that we had kits cut of, and I had told you guys that I was going to do a demo on how to actually make this project work for you using the angler. And I showed you how to use the angler with our binding strips, but I did not show you how to use the angler with different pieces for a block. So today I thought I would, and I don't know how we're going to do this, I would take one of these leaf blocks, so this area right in here, you guys see that? Take the leaf block and just show you how I would use the angler to make that happen. Okay, so one thing about this block is that it has, it's not symmetrical, so it goes up this way on this side and it goes up this way on the other side. So when you're using the angler tool that I'm going to show you, have to make sure that you're sewing your angles the right direction. So I've come up with, you can just see right there, I came up with some stitching that I did. So here's one side, and then here would be the center because it V's to the center. And now I need to make the other side, and it's going to be the mirror image of this one. So this triangle is going to come up this way. So you have to be careful when you're using your angler that you have them lined up the right way. All right, so I'm going to put this down, and now let's see, is there a way for you to mirror, rotate? Oh, I'm hoping I'm not making you sick.
Every day is different.
I know, every day is different.
Cindy, yes, we are getting so good at this, and we appreciate that, Cindy.
Okay, now Katie can see, and hopefully my mic is still picking up because it's not facing me anymore. Can you still hear? Let us know if you can still hear. Well, you're going to be the one facing it.
I'll let you know if they can't hear.
Okay, so here's my rectangle that I cut out for my leaf, and here are my squares that are going to go up on top of it. And now this time, because I sewed these leaves this way, this time I need to sew this way. And what's so cool about it is normally you had to draw a center line because it's really hard to eyeball from here to here. That's a pretty long distance. But with my angler tool, I bring it over to my machine and I put the bottom tip, and I know this is kind of hard to see, but there's a line right there. And it comes all the way out. It extends all the way out. There is that center line. And I'm going to put the bottom tip on that, and I'm going to put the front tip at the center line of my sewing machine. So when I put my foot down, that red line is right in my corner, and my tail end down here is right on the line as well. And we're going to just stitch across it. Let me get my needle down here.
Sewing is the hardest part of these videos.
It is.
It is. Well, especially because now it's, it wants to jam on me. It did not. It stitched beautifully when I stitched earlier.
Of course it did.
It knows it's being displayed.
There we go. Okay, now we're going. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to stitch across this side and see how fast I can go from corner to corner and land right dead in the corner, which is what I want to do. I'm going to clip my thread. And with these leaves, they need to go to the same direction, so I'm just going to bring it over. I'm going to line my tip up down here, so like here, and I'm going to do the same thing up there, put my red line right in my corner, and then I'm going to stitch across following this tip down here and bringing it straight up the line. It's coming right up, okay? And I end up with two perfect straight sides. Then I would clip my corners, I would press them back like this. And now I made the opposite side so you can see my leaves.
Beautiful.
Yay! Any questions on that, or you guys got it? I'm going to assume you got it.
I think so. The angler makes it so easy.
It does.
Like
Clipping those
product.
corners is really
know,
nice. And
perfect.
it ends up being perfect. And then you trim
Thanks,
away the
There
back.
is a little bit of a delay. You're still sewing the second square right now.
Okay, all right. So we're talking about our feedback on the system is a little delayed, but that's okay. So you can see you're going to clip the backs and press, and then you're going to end up with your opposite sides. So that's how this tool, anytime you have any Elizabeth Hartman project or anything that needs you to clip corners, this tool is awesome. You don't have to draw those lines any longer.
Makes flip and sew so easy.
It makes flippin' so flippin' easy. All right. And if you could look at this quilt, there are a lot of flips.
But there's
the
a
entire
whole
thing.
section. There's a whole leaf section right there.
Yes, but there's a leaf block. Look how quick that was.
I know.
So
quick.
All right. So that's one little demo. The next thing I wanted to show you was that we are doing a lot of personal shopping for you guys these days. A lot
So
of
much.
personal shopping.
We love it.
Yes, and the way we do it is we have you guys either send us a picture of what you're working on, or we send you something and you say, oh, I like that, but I want it a little bit different. So I just wanted to show you this one. I showed this quilt the other day. This is the Sun Flare Quilt. I know, I love this one. I showed it the other day. Yes.
Nikki Davis has a question. She says she missed the first part. Can I use the angler with the icon?
Yes,
Oh,
of
yes.
course you can. You can use the angler with any sewing machine. It's nice if you have a table extensions because it needs to come out flat in front of you, but it'll work with any sewing machine because it's like color form. It kind of just sticks to the your sewing surface. So if you have a sew steady table, if you have a cabinet, if you even just have your extension table for your machine, it'll work with that. You just need to get it straight lined up, straight to the dead center of your needle when you put it on. Okay, so this is the Sun Flare Quilt. And I had showed you the colors that I had chosen for me because I wanted something very, very pastel. And our good customer, Beth, said that I like your colors, but they're a little too pale for me. Can you do something that's just a little bit more saturated? So then, so here are my originals. And then today I picked out these
So yummy.
for Beth. So you can see here's the original and here's Beth's. And I have to say, it makes me want to change mine. So it's really fun to shop for you guys because sometimes I like what I pick for you better than what I pick for me. So anyway, don't be afraid to ask if there's something you need help with, any kind of fabric selection. We're really good at pulling things out for you. So that's just wanted to let you know about that.
Lib Darty says, beautiful. Hi, Pam. Hi, Lib. Hi,
Donna
Garner. Hi, Tina. Hi, Roberta. Hi, Helena. Yes, it's Beth Monahan, Tina.
Yes, I'm trying to maintain anonymity with our customers.
Oops, sorry, Beth. Julie likes.
Yes, all right. So today we wanted to keep working. Our technique of the week is binding. And yesterday we went and we used our sasher tool. I did want to show you that the sasher actually comes in two versions. It comes in a 1 1/8 and a 1 1/4. So some of you like to start with a 2 1/4 inch strip, and some of you like to start with a 2 1/2 inch strip. I personally like the 2 1/2 inch strip. So I would use the 1 1/4 inch sashing. And if you aren't sure how you use this, you need to look at yesterday's video. We did it there. So that's how we made our binding. So it comes both ways, either just the 1 1/4 or getting both. If you like to make miniatures and use the 2 1/4 and then do 2 1/2 for the big ones. All right. So we went ahead and made our sashing strip.
2.5 inches.
2 1/2. We did remake yesterday.
Yes.
Our strips got cut at 1 inch or at 2 inches, and it finished at 1. And I think it's hard to put a 1 inch binding on because you fold it in half. So this starts out at 1 1/4 inch, and I really like a 1 1/4 because it gives me a nice inch binding. I sew on my binding a little deeper to get it 3/8 inch on the front and on the back. So that's the size I like to start with. And I talked to you about, I wanted you to have a perfect ending, and I need to let me make sure I have a pen here. I do have a pen. Okay. So when I start my binding, I like to cut my first tip. I want to cut a diagonal on it. If I cut it while it's folded, it'll actually make a V. It'll make like an arrowhead, and I don't want that. So you actually have to open it up when you go to cut it. And then when you cut it, I want to cut it so that I can see I'm going to put it on a 45-degree line. So I'm going straight along here, and I'm going to put my ruler on a 45-degree line to get the first cut done. And it goes like this. And actually, I'm cutting this, I think I cut this backwards. I did cut it backwards. Okay, so the way that I know it's backwards, and I actually wanted to show you this, is that when you go to apply it to the quilt, you want to make sure that you can actually see the folded back part. And see how it's upside down? I cannot see my folded part. I need it to cut the other direction. So it's no worries. I just take it to the other 45 line. So here's my other direction, and that's the way I need it to go. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that, where I cut it the wrong way, I go to put it on, I'm like, oh, I cut it upside down. You just cut it the other direction. Okay? So now, I'm high. I'm in a high chair. Woo! Okay. So now I have it, so when I go to put it onto my quilt, I have a nice, I can see the V that I cut out, and I'm going to leave myself a nice tail. This is a very small little quilt because I wanted to be able to stitch around it so that you guys wouldn't have to watch me forever, but you'd get to see me do 4 corners and the finishing seam. So I think it's really important that you see all of that. So whenever I start, I want to leave myself about a 10 to 12 inch tail. So I put it as much in the center of this little side as I could, and I'm going to start sewing about here so this stays loose. When I go to sew, I like to line it up so that I put on my regular sewing foot, I take my 1/4 inch foot off. My 1/4 inch is too thin for my seam allowance when I'm putting binding on. I like a very generous, almost a 3/16 inch seam when I'm doing my binding, when I'm attaching it. And so by going to the outside edge of my general purpose foot, right now I still have my 34C foot on, actually 34D, no, C. No wonder it wasn't pulling. Okay, my 34C foot, the outside edge of it is about an inch. And then when we sew, however wide your seam allowance is, so if you do 3/8 of an inch seam allowance width, then you need to stop 3/8 of an inch before you get to the bottom. So you're however wide your seam allowance is how far you need to stop before you get to the bottom edge. Does that make sense? So if I used a 1/4 inch to attach it, I would stop a 1/4 inch short. If I'm doing 3/16 of an inch, I'm going to stop 3/16 of an inch short. If you don't know quite where it is, you could use your ruler. You could mark it, give yourself a mark. I've done it a bunch, so I kind of know where I'm going. But you could make yourself a little dot, and you just know, okay, I'm 3/8 of an inch is a very light pen. But I would just sew to that point. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to just stitch this little bit and turn my corner. So I'm going to line up my fabric, the edge of my fabric to the edge of my foot. So I'm keeping my binding and the edge of my quilt that we squared up so beautifully yesterday. We're keeping everything lined up together. And then I'm going to just lower my foot, and I'm going to sew along the edge. So here's what I'm marking. All of my seams are coming up along this edge. And then I'm going to stitch until I get to 3/8. I do reverse when I do this as well, because I'm going to put tension on that when I come back around to do my final seam. And I'm going to take another stitch, and then I'm going to reverse again, and then I'm going to cut my thread. Okay, then I remove my quilt from the sewing machine. I'm going to pivot the whole thing 90 degrees, and then I want to take my binding strip, and it comes straight out here. I want to go straight up and make it a line so that it continues this edge, makes a straight, and that gives me a perfect 45 degrees here. So I'm going to go straight up, and I want to pull the slack out of it. I don't want any stuff like this in the corner. I don't know what you guys do sometimes, but you put funny stuff in your corner.
Mushy binding.
We don't want any extra fabric, so we want to go from here. We want to do a 45-degree angle, and we're going to go straight up that edge, okay? Once I do that, I can put a little finger crest in. I'm going to come straight back down. Again, I'm not putting any extra fabric in there. I'm just making it nice and crisp. I want a crisp corner, Crisp
Corner.
crisp corner. Okay, so I have a little flap under here, and then I have I'm going to come straight back down along here. You can feel underneath here, you can feel where that seam is, and I want to start where I stopped stitching before. So it's going to be 3/8 of an inch in, 3/8 of an inch in this way, 3/8 of an inch in that way. So my needle wants to go in right there, which is where I stopped stitching, coming the other direction.
Oh, it's such a bright sewing machine. And this is with our lights at 50%.
They are at 50% because
They've got really great lights on
they
here.
have really great. I do take a couple stitches forward and a couple stitches back, and then I'm going to keep stitching. And I'm going to go all the way to the other side. I'm going to stop that 3/8 of an inch short again.
Zoom, zoom. Now she's flying.
Now I'm sewing.
Good afternoon, Pat Kidman. Miss you too, Una. Helena says hi.
Hi. Oh, I got to zoom to the
We're
other
zooming.
side. All right, getting there. I'm getting there. That's why I picked a small sample.
Right.
Takes a minute.
Marcia says rated is better. And Flo says that is not the easy way.
Flo and I have had a long-standing discussion about this. And Flo, I'm going to invite you to come on our little Facebook Live and show them your way, because I can't do your way. I can only do my way. Okay, so I'm going to come up to the front. I'm going to back up again, reverse, cut my thread. I'm going to take my quilt out. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to pull my binding strip straight up so I get that nice good line up here, then straight back down so that I can line it up nice and square. I've got a nice square corner. Back into the machine. I'm going to start at that same spot that I did before. I'm going to back up a couple stitches and then come forward.
And zoom, zoom, zoom.
And then this seems like it doesn't go very, this machine's not going as fast as I like it. I'm not sure why.
Is your speed?
It is all the way up. It seems like it's slow. It normally sews faster. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Maybe.
It's lagging like the internet.
Yeah,
It's
flagging
just,
like
everything's
that,
a little
flagging
slow
like the
today.
internet.
The internet was super slow today.
You never know what you're going to get when you tune in.
That's right.
It's different every day.
Hey, Camille, did we see?
Uh-oh.
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 Oh, geez.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
That wasn't.
Uh-oh.
Our binding's not long
Look,
enough.
our binding is not going to fit. Joyce, can you get me a 2.5 inch strip, please? Has
Joyce
that
goes,
ever
zoom,
hap-
zoom, zoom.
Has that ever happened to you? You get to your, you should come to the pretty side so the quilt's behind me.
Oh,
There.
wait.
Isn't that so much prettier?
Let's see. There we go.
Oh, that's so much prettier. Okay, anyway, Joyce is going to get me some more. But have you ever had where your seam ends up right in that corner as well? So you definitely do not want a seam. If you do, you want to cut it out and actually just cut the seam out, and that will shift it back. And then you can, while Joyce gets me another piece, I'm going to finish this side. Then you can keep going, but you don't want to have a seam in your corner.
Camille says, Miss Hall, did we see her pic of her blinged out QB bag? I missed it.
We haven't seen it yet because we've been really busy. We are really busy between, here, I need to join that before you press it. Okay, so here we are. I have my binding strip here, 2.5 inches. Here's my other one, 2.5 inches, and I'm going to use my angler again. So I'm just going to put them on top of each other like this. I'm going to use my angler again.
Make sure you're going the right direction.
I am. I hope.
I usually guess.
If not, we're just going to cut it off.
And we're going to cut it out, and we're going to do it again.
That's right. We're not going to take out any stitches.
All right. This is called working on the fly, and then I could use my rotary cutter, but I'm kind of in a hurry, so I'm just using
She used it
scissors.
for her mat the other day. So.
Yes, and then I just need a little bit extra. I didn't need a lot. Okay. All right, I've got Miss Joyce here. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do we need the William Tell Overture?
Oh,
now?
gosh.
No.
Do.
The fly Flight of the Bumblebee. That's next.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna put the Flight of the
Flight
Bumblebee on for our next SmackDown. We haven't figured out what it is yet, but we will have another one.
Yes, it could
Well,
be
we're
singing,
thinking
Kathy.
Flo versus you on binding.
It's true. Flo has a very cool ending technique too, but it is not mine.
Actually, Flo has put a lot of binding on Kathy's quilts, if I remember
Actually,
correctly.
it's true. Flo is the master binder.
Yeah.
We really miss having you up here,
Yeah,
Flo.
she's fast. She
Yes.
is fast.
Yes.
We love you. We love you, Flo. We miss you.
Yes, and I love the cordless iron. Love that cordless iron. Okay, all right, we're back. Da, da, da. That happens in real life, right? With real quilts.
It does. They're
real-
saying making it real. These are real world problems, ladies.
These are real world problems. That's right.
This is not just Facebook Live.
That's right. All right. So you never know when you're going live what's really going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to come down my third side. Do my little back tuck. Back forward.
Off she goes.
And we're good to go again.
Now we need the William Tell overture.
Big quilt. I hope we made enough extra flow. Or Joyce, who are you now?
Oh,
What do you want me to be?
That's right. Running.
hi, Brett. You made a cameo in the mirror.
Oh, okay. that was our Brett.
Brett, you had a cameo?
I did, apparently.
All right. It takes many people for me to do a Facebook Live.
It does.
I need my whole team. That's why you have to shut the store so I can do this.
We're so much more relaxed. At least we are.
All right.
That's right.
I'm at my last turn, girls.
All
Last
right.
turn. And boy, because I bet Bill's watching. Hi,
Coming
Bill.
around the finish line.
I haven't seen Bill yet today.
Oh,
he might
he'll
be out there.
He'll be there.
Barb Nickel was late today. That's okay, Barb. You can rewind to the beginning.
That's right. And I won't sew on my head today, Barb. I'll try and stay up right side up.
But she is talented that way.
Okay, I'm doing my last corner, and what do? I pull it straight up and straight back down. All right, everybody see that? Can you see it? Straight up and straight back down to get that good. And see how the seam is right here. It's pulled away from that corner. You do not want this in that corner. It's way too much bulk. So do cut it out. If every once in a while it lands right there, cut it out as you notice that you're approaching it. And I said it'll pull it back. Okay, so now this is my joining side. So I have this guy coming up here. I don't have much room to start sewing. I'm only going to sew to about here because I need a tail here to do my final seam. So I'm going to just sew down a couple of inches, doing the same thing, starting back in that crease. And doing my back stitch again into that corner. And then I'm just going to sew a little bit forward and then back stitch. Okay. We are ready for our final seam. Okay, so here are my quilt, and I take
beautiful.
these two as isn't it pretty?
I love it. I
Actually,
worked on this.
Tell them what this is,
So,
Katie.
so this is the tension tester for the Q24 long, or for any of the long arms. I like to test tension before I go quilting. So this is my testing sandwich.
So I asked Katie, do you have anything pre-quilted that I could bind? And she goes, I have my testing piece. So this is Katie's testing piece, which is why it's what it is. Okay. All right. So we're to our final seam. And I want to get a very perfect binding where you can't even tell where this seam is versus any other seam. So this is why I need this part. Remember at the beginning we talked about you need to be able to see this V? Because this V tells us where we need to cut our final piece. So I'm going to lay the two together. I'm going to open this one up. I'm going to lay this one.
We have to save this for tomorrow. Barb Nickel says, stop. You have to save this for tomorrow.
I have some more techniques for tomorrow. I'm going to talk about a different kind of binding. I think I've got a couple other things up my sleeve. So
All right. Well,
there's
she's looking out for you. Make sure you have
But
enough to
thank
talk
you,
about.
Thank you. Am I running over my? Oh my gosh, I'm over my 17-minute allocation. Okay, I'm gonna hurry up and finish up here. Right? You don't want me to leave here now. That would be sad. Okay.
Suspenseful.
We
All
gotta
right.
finish.
All right, gotta finish. Okay, so here's my V, and it's very light, but can you see? Here's my tip. I'm gonna put a line going right the direction. This pen, there we go. I'm gonna put a line right where that V is. Can you guys see that? Right where the V is, the direction that the V is. So this tells me how I need to cut my final thing. I need to put this on a 45-degree line. So that V, I'm gonna match it up, that line, I'm gonna match it up with a 45-degree line on my mat. So here's a 45-degree line, and here, and then I'm gonna square it up this way. okay, because I want to get a good 45-degree cut. When we join our two binding pieces together, we need to add a 1/4 inch to this piece and a 1/4 inch to that piece. Well, I can't make this one any longer, so I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to this piece. So if you put the 1/2 inch line of your ruler on this line with the tick mark on top of that line, nice big ruler here. I'm going to put the 1/2 inch line on so this is my 1/2 inch line. I'm lining it up on the mat on my tick mark. Let me pull my tick mark over a tiny bit. There we go. So see how I'm right on top of my tick mark. I'm on top of my 45-degree line, and my fabric is lined up right along my mat there, and then I'm going to cut. So I just added a 1/2 inch longer to my line. It always needs to be longer, not shorter, because if it's shorter, your size won't match. Okay, we have one last seam to go. So this time I'm going to pretend like my two pieces of fabric are together, and I need to get right sides together. So I take my fabric and I pull right sides together. Okay, so here they're just of each other. I'm going to pull right side of this one to right side of this one. And you have to leave the dog ears because this is a triangle showing a 45 degrees sewing to a 45 degrees. So I'm going to lay them across like this. Okay. So I'm going to start sewing here, sew across, and come out right there. Those are my dog ears. Some people like to put a couple pins in. I'm going to live dangerously because this is a live presentation. I'm gonna just hold
Surprise!
it.
She's gonna live dangerously.
Surprise. Yeah, that's a real surprise, isn't it? Sometimes you got to kind of crumple up your quilt next to you because you don't want to put a lot of tension on this while you're trying to sew this last seam. And it's really helpful to leave yourself at least 10 inches on each end. Otherwise, you're really fighting it to get this last seam done. Okay, so I'm going to just pull I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. These. Then I would press this, and then look,
Woo!
it fits perfectly. I love this technique. Okay, Flo.
Flo says when she tries it this way, she always cuts it the wrong way. So you gotta watch out for that.
You gotta mark your line, the direction that it needs to go, and then put that line on a line that matches the direction of the line. That's the big trick for that.
Yeah, match the direction of the line.
Match the direction of the line.
Makes perfect sense.
All right, and then the last thing we do is we come and we finish that last seam.
Sorry if I'm making everyone seasick.
Almost to the end.
Flo says too hard. Too hard.
Silly lady. I love it because it comes out perfect for me every time. Okay, then I wanted to just show you a corner, so come on over here, Katie. Whoop, 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 whoop. I just wanted to show you how nice these corners are. So if on the back, you can see that where you stop in one direction and where you start in the other should be the same spot. That's what's going to give you a really nice miter on this side. So when I go to turn it around, I'm going to push it this way. Look at that really nice 45 degree. I'm going to come down back this way. I'm going to squeeze that corner, make a 45 degree that way, and pull it back around. Look at that beautiful corner. That's what you want when you're binding your quilt. All right.
That was pretty good.
Yay!
We successfully bound the sample.
All right, that's my demo for today. We will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and I will do something else related to binding. I haven't decided. I think I'm going to do a two-sided binding, a two-color binding, where you have one color on one side and one color on the other. It's actually really cool. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.